Unit 6, Part 8. So I'm just going to run through the study questions and the exercises. Okay, so you have a go at answering them, and for the ones you get confused, right, and then I'm just going to run through the questions and quickly state the answers. Okay, it's a video, so you can go at your own pace. Study question 1. Why is an argument... Again, as I've said throughout the previous parts, these are very good questions for making sure you've achieved mastery of all these concepts, right? They test how you apply the definitions. Definitions are what they are, as we've gone through them, but it's just applying them sometimes can generate confusion if you're not super clear on what they are. All right. Why is an argument form, study question 1, why is an argument form with inconsistent premises valid rather than invalid? Okay? It's simply applying the definitions. Okay? An argument form with inconsistent premises is valid rather than invalid because, to answer it, you say, what does it mean? What is our truth table understanding of a set of inconsistent premises, and what's our understanding of validity? Okay, a set of inconsistent premises means, don't use your shirt for that, mate. Inconsistent premises means they aren't all true together. There is no row when they're all true together. Now, a valid argument is one where there's no counterexample, and a counterexample is all true premises and a false conclusion. So if the set of premises is inconsistent, that means you can't possibly have a counterexample. If the set of premises is inconsistent, they can't all be true at the same time. You can't possibly have all true premises and a false conclusion. There is no possible counterexample. And if there's no counterexample, the argument is valid. Question 2, what is the relationship between validity and logical implication? We talked about this. A valid argument is one where the premises logically imply the conclusion. Right, as we talked about, logical implication, no instances of true going to false. Right? Valid argument is no instances of all true premises, false conclusion. A valid argument is one where the premises logically imply the conclusion. Question 3. Why do all three definitions of logical equivalence amount to the same thing? Definitions 5, 6, and 7 all have different definitions of logical equivalence. Two statement forms are logically equivalent if and only if they logically imply one another. I'll skip this. I'll leave this one for you. Okay. Okay. Two statement forms are logically equivalent if and only if they logically imply each other. That's if one logically implies two, it means you don't have any instances of true going to false. If two logically implies one, you don't have any instances of true going to false. So that means you can't have any difference in, to have a difference in the truth values for any row, you would have to have true going to false, at least one of the ways. So if you don't have that, that means they both logically imply they have to be identical truth tables, they have to be logically equivalent. It doesn't quite say why they're... doesn't quite answer the question of why do they amount to the same thing, but whatever. Question 4, can one say that a statement form is valid? Why or why not? You shouldn't say whether... You can't say that a statement form is valid because validity applies to argument forms, not to individual statements, right? So you shouldn't say that a statement form is valid because it's a category mistake. 5. What are the 4 sorts of truth table problems you've learned? Skip that. Question 6, what are some of the relationships between the various truth table concepts you've learned in the... Well, it's more open-ended. Okay, let me just do the exercises. Exercise 1. So these are good ones for mastery of the concept. 1A, what is the negation of a tautology? What is the negation of the tautology? For all of these questions, you want to answer them just by thinking the truth table definition, and especially the truth table image, right? So, what is the negation of a tautology? I just want you to think that a tautology, right? What is a tautology? This is a tautology. T, 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 right? What is the negation of the tautology, right? You're just thinking, right? it's the negation of a tautology. What's it going to be? Well, for each row, you're negating a t. Each row is a t, so it's false, 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 false. So you should thinking in terms of the truth table definition and the image, the negation of the tautology is that f, 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 f. What is that? That's a contradiction. Okay, that's how you think these. What is the negation of a contingent form, and why? Right? The negation of the contingent form. So think the image for a contingent form. It's sometimes t, sometimes f, at least one t, at least one f. The negation of that, well, t's are going to go to f. It's going to be f, negation of it, f, f, t, f, right? Doesn't have to be exactly this, but right, some t's and some f's, that's what a contingent form is. The negation of that, whatever t's you have are going to go to f's, whatever f's you have are going to go to t, so you're also going to have t's and f's, so it's another contingency. The negation of a contingency is a contingency. You arrive at the answer just by busting out the truth table definition, the image that goes with the concept, and figuring out, in this case, what the negation will be. What is the negation of a contradiction? You answer. That's right, it's a tautology. Negation of a contradiction, false, 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 false. However many, all false, you negate them, goes to all true, to tautology. Now these ones are fun. D, what is the disjunction of a contingent form and a contradiction? So again, this is going to be streaky. Okay, where am I? D, what is the disjunction of a contingent form and a contradiction? Think of it like this. Okay, you're asked about a disjunction, right? So a disjunction of what? Disjunction of a contingent form and a contradiction. So a disjunction of T, F, T, T, or whatever, and a contradiction F, 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 right? Just think the truth table image for it, and you can compute, as it were, what the wedge will be, the disjunction. When it's T and F, it's going to be, right, so this this one's all F, getting attacked. This one's got T's and F's. So whenever this one's T, it's going to be T, because it's a disjunction. Whenever this is F, it's going to be F, right? This is always F. This was a contingency, so some T's and some F's. And this is also, as we can already see, you can have some T's and some F's. So the disjunction of a contingency, a contingent form and a contradiction is a contingency, right? Why? Because whatever the contingency is will determine what the disjunction is. Jesus. What is the disjunction of a contingent form and a tautology? The disjunction of a contingent form and a tautology, well here, this is now going to be all true, right? And the truth of that is going to, I'm going to get attacked, suffice for the truth of the disjunction is going to be all true. The disjunction of a contingency and a tautology, all true, okay? What is the conjunction of a contingent form and a tautology? It's a contradiction, right? Because the conjunction of a contingent, conjunction, they both, the conjunction of a contingent form and a tautology will be a contingent form, right? Because that's F. What is the conjunction? Sorry. Conjunction of a contingent form and a tautology will be contingent whenever the contingent form is true, then both of them will be true, and you'll have truth. Whenever the contingent form is false, it'll be false, because you'll have false and true, so it's false. So that's contingent. Did I miss E? What is the disjunction of a contingent form and a tautology? That'll be a tautology, right? Disjunction of contingent and tautology, that'll be a tautology because the tautology suffices for the truth of the form. Okay, what's the biconditional? This is G. 1G, what is the biconditional of two contradictions? You figure it out? Just think. It's the biconditional false, 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 and false, 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 false. And it's the biconditional, right? Forgetting all this, right? It's the biconditional of that and that. And what's false, biconditional, false? True, 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 true. It's true everywhere. So it is a tautology, right? It's always F, biconditional F, and F, biconditional F is true in each row. You know what each row is. Okay, and finally, that was G. Finally, H, what is a conditional? Okay, what is a conditional with a contradiction for an antecedent and a contingent form for a consequent? Okay, so think, you just think it like this. A conditional with a contradiction for an antecedent. False, 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 false. Contingent form for a consequent, it's going to be a tautology. The falsity of the antecedent, as given by that being a contradiction, will be sufficient for the truth of that, for the truth of the conditional in each row. Okay, I've got to stop this, but there's a few more on the next page, but see if you can do them yourself.